2015 was because he was 69 at the time, and that the only way he could still get into the military at 69 was as Commander-in-Chief. Yeah. The last lesson I'd like to share with you all today is in many ways the most important lesson. It's also the hardest to put into practice. However, given that this lesson is an official Nyagah family trade secret, I cannot share it with you today or my uncles would kill me. So we can meet in your Maya tent. Thank you. On a slightly more serious note, and I see Waziri Kagwe with us here. My father was a very strong man, physically strong. He was 72 years old. He walked 10 kilometers every morning at 5 a.m. Myself and my sons tried to keep up with him, and we were defeated. The truth is that COVID took him in 4 weeks. Waziri Kagwe has been telling us all year, and perhaps we have not been listening, but sasa tumeona na macho, hii kitu ni real. This was a very strong man. It is real. I would like to use this opportunity to urge all my age mates, my children's age mates, your parents, your grandparents, do everything in your power to protect them from this virus. It is real until the vaccine ifike si mbali. Yeah? Naomba on behalf of my family and my father. Thank you. And Yamisho, just to say, to repeat what Mr. Maka said in the eulogy, it is true. My father once said to me that I would inherit all his friends and all my enemies. I'm delighted to be surrounded by his friends today. On behalf of my family, thank you very much. Dad, we love you forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maniki, for your nice words. I'll just do one example. Alex and Merlin and Ella, just stand up. Just stand up. Joe was very proud of those Muzungus. The boy he named after me called Norman, for those who may be willing and ready, he is still single, free to mingle. He's a pilot in Japan. Joe's wish on that young man called Norman was that Norman should get a girl from Southern Sudan, so that when they get children, the grandchildren will be blue dark blue. So Maniki, that is something, if you see Uncle Nash, he will help you out. They'll pray for you so that you can go to the South Sudan. Your Excellency, I think it is important at this point in time, before I call my big sister Mary and the other one, I give a quick history about Joe. Not that history that is known, not the one of Pentagon that he was with the Honorable Balala, the rest, and so on. I give a history of Joe's sickness just before he died. And with your permission, and he has given me permission. Joe fell sick before he was admitted to hospital on the 19th. He was home in Nairobi for a week. God knows what he was doing in Nairobi. When I came here 11 months ago, I closed my office in Nairobi. The president put a lockdown. When I was still here, 11 months down the line, I'm still sitting in Mbeere, and I had not gone to Nairobi until this dear brother of mine took me to Nairobi. I had told him, Joe, wewe na mimi sisi ni wazee na tumekomaa, wacha tuketi huku hii kitu iondoke. So I'm reminded on that day, my last trip with Joe, Your Excellency, was coming from a place called Mutuavare. Mutuavare is about 1 hour and a half away from here. Huko chini, karibu na kwa Wakamba. And believe you me, whatever we had gone to do on land matters, we spent a whole day there with Joe. And Joe spoke to me all the way from Mutuavare to my home. And I complained to my relatives when I got home that this fellow does not stop talking. Because Joe was very talkative and he came to see me every evening whenever he was in Embu, in Mbeere. I miss this guy. Joe spoke to me, and for a long time, as you know, in 2013, 2017, whichever year it was, I forget very easily, Joe stood for presidency. And I'll talk about it very briefly. We asked the children, what would you like us to write on the tombstone of your father? And they told us, I was number 3. Never mind the votes he got. But I was number 3. So we might have to do that. You have to do that. You're now looking at President number 3. You know, therefore, by extension, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, you're looking at President number 3 also. Because I've taken over the helms of the Nyaga family. Makofi, kwa wingi. So anyway, Joe gets sick. He sits in Nairobi. My sister Mary calls me and tells me, why don't you speak to your brother Joe? He has refused to go to Nairobi. I'm not sure. So I try talking to Joe. I'm not able to get hold of him. I get hold of the son, Mwaneki. And he tells me, Dad is okay. I said, have you seen him? No, he's okay. He's been talking to me. So I said, you go, let me know how he was. So finally I spoke to Joe. And he picked up my phone, and this is what he said. Norman, I'm okay. I was unwell. I've lost a bit of weight. But now, I am okay. Perfect. The next one, I hear he still has not gone to hospital. So, Mwaniki and Mary tell me that they need to take him to the hospital, and Bill Mayaka was willing and ready to use the police to take him by force. I was talking to Professor Nyagah, and he said, I wish that Saturday I knew before I went to Kisumu, I'd have forced Joe to go to hospital. And you know, I keep on saying by extension, because Professor, you're older than me, you go there. So anyway, my mom calls Joe, and Joe complains. I'll never tell anything to Mary because Mary has no secrets. Why did she say I am unwell? Please, the whole world keeps on calling me to find out about me. So, I mean, if an adult tells you that, with all due respect, Your Excellency, wouldn't you just know that this man is well? In fact, at that time, I would have called him a dude. He's well, just for you to know a bit of American. So I let Joe. Surprise on Monday. In the evening, I'm called and I'm told that Joe is extremely unwell. And he needs to go to the hospital. Well, he has already gone to the hospital. So I follow that. And I'm told not only is he sick, actually this man is sick from this animal called COVID-19. The one that we are told is abnormal by the CSUs here. And you come and tell us later how abnormal this thing is. Sasa watu wa Mbeere mtajionea, yeye mwenyewe, abnormality is here. So, there's nothing we could do. Here it happened. The rest is history. We get doctors, team of good doctors to go through it. We have people tested in his chamber here, and in Nairobi everything is working. A man called Mbeere want to thank you. You have flown all the way from London to come here. I get a call from Nairobi Hospital. I am told he needs a high-flow nasal canal set. And it's only available in Kenyatta Hospital. I call Mutahi, CS, and Your Excellency, the reason I call Mutahi, just Mutahi sometimes I forget is because when I was a tiny little boy, I used to give him pocket money, this one, before he became a rich man. He went to school with my kid brother Njeru. Now he's a big man, he orders me what to do. So anyway, so I speak to CS Mutahi, and Mutahi tells me, I will call you back. But he doesn't know what I want. So I said, I'll break all protocols. So I called the CEO of Kenyatta National Hospital. Trust me, Your Excellency, with my mouth, I can get anything. Anyway, he gave me this cannula. It was taken to Nairobi Hospital, and Joe was using it by 9 o'clock. And for the next 3 days, it made him survive. Then I get another call from the doctor, and he tells me, this man now needs to go to ICU because things are serious. So he goes into ICU. We are following. I am writing to many people, giving the reports and so on. And we all think Joe is going to be okay. And we are even thanking our God, that Joe is going to heal. Until one Wednesday, 2 days before he died. And I think that was on the 8th. Your Excellency, tangu mimi nije hapa, mimi sijaweka suruali kama hii ambao ninaweka. Nilikwenda hapa Embu, nikashonesha hii suruali ya inaitwa kipande. Hiyo. If you look at me, I'm a truly native of Mbeere here. I got us in the shamba, and I got this information. Joe is very unwell. We did a chest X-ray on him, and 97% of his lungs, post-COVID, are gone. So now, this is after being moved from COVID ICU to normal ICU of Nairobi Hospital. They used within 2 weeks, or just about 2 weeks, Joe had healed from COVID. And that's why he was moved to ICU, and my family continued on to see him in hospital to encourage him. But the lungs were over-destroyed, 97%. So this is what they said, the doctors. We need the family to come to us because we have to make a decision on Joe. Either he lives in a ventilator or the family thinks otherwise. You know, the doctors are telling us either switching on or switching off, forgetting that it is unofficial, it's unlawful. Isn't that so, JB? Mbeere? Neguo? It's unlawful. So, I tell the doctors, you know, I'm affiliated to over 500 hospitals worldwide. Now the DP knows. I can actually take Joe to Chennai in India, where we can do a bilateral lung transplant. He can survive. If at all his brain is okay, then they said we are going to do that tomorrow. 2 hours later of our conversation with the doctors, Joe got the first heart attack, cardiac arrest. Couple of hours later, another cardiac arrest, but all lasting between 4 and 5 minutes. CPR, no defibrillator was used on Joe. Then I said, things are serious. Hii kitu imekuwa ni mlima, ni mnyama. Now I started looking for God's intervention. And God's intervention at that point in time is my very good friend and my neighbor, the Bishop of Nairobi, Bishop Waweru. Graciously agreed to go the same day with his wife. They called me and they said all the things that he said for those who are not asleep when he was preaching. And I was quite satisfied. If Joe heard or didn't hear, and Joe had confessed to me many a times how saved he was, and he had confessed also to Bishop how saved he was. You know, for me, I have no doubt where Joe is. Joe sits where all of us will go. But not everybody. Those who do evil things, which I don't do, will go elsewhere. If you want to see me, you must do the nice things that I do. I want to thank you, all the people led by the president and the deputy president who were praying all along for Joe to be healed in hospital. I don't take it for granted. You were excellent in as far as that was concerned. So anyway, the next morning we rushed to Nairobi Hospital, and my wife and I, and we are there just on time. We are there for 2 hours. I think we were only 6 of us, and we prayed with this man, and we did everything with this man. Then, just before we got there, he got a 3rd heart attack. 4th heart attack happened after 4 hours, 2 hours, and that was the last one that took him to the next world. I was very happy, actually. Joe went in my presence. He would have decided to go before me, before getting there. But I asked the doctors, can you do everything possible so that his son Norman, who was arriving the next day, would find him here, whether in vegetative stage, but the machine working, and then we can deal with machine at that time. Norman, I'm sorry. By the time that happened, it is history we give you. But for me, Professor Nyagah and Sisiri Karaoke, look at the respect Joe gave me. That this is the way I'm looking at it, and I feel very strong about it. That Joe waited for me until I was there, and then he took his last breath. I did 2 things before I called my big sister Mary. I shut his eyes. Nipigiwe makofi kwa kumfunga macho. None of you walimfunga macho. Hata we professor. Nikamfunga mdomo, and I was satisfied I had done God's will of what I ought to have done. Mary, why don't you run here? I am through here, over here. Dr. Mary Kimulu is my big sister. If I never refer to Dr. Mary Kimulu as my big sister, I get into a lot of trouble. As a matter of fact, Your Excellency and Your Excellencies, this young girl who did not make Joe grow up, because the difference was only 13 months, mine and her was also 13 months, she taught J.B. Muturi, the Speaker of the National Assembly, when he was a little toto, when he did not know how to put. In fact, that time you remember from Ishiara, the trouser, you are doing it reverse on the other side. Mary, now you can talk. Thank you.
You know, I did not ask him to do my speech. The bishops and the clergy, our deputy president. You know, one day I called you vice president when I was quite new to these things. And I apologize that you forgave me in a Bible Society meeting. Oh, sorry. This boy just wanted to shake your hand. There's nothing more. That's why he's coming here. Anyway, cabinet ministers, led by our sister from our area, who has really helped us to coordinate everything, people coming to sign the book and to do everything. I'm not giving vote of thanks, but Sise, thank you. When I got married, she was in primary school. You have to know that. They say, he said, I don't hide anything, so I'm going to say everything. Our governors who are here, members of Senate, members of Parliament led by my Form 1 students. That's why Norman is saying it. Did I ask him to say it? I was going to say it. I'm very proud to say the speaker, I taught him in Form 1, and is not ashamed to tell everybody that I taught him in Standard 1. So when he does good things, credit to Mary. When he does bad things, it's not me, it's the other teachers. So that's how it goes. So very special friends of Joe are here. I will not mention them, but you know yourselves. We were there when we took him to the mortuary. We were there when just after he passed away. You stood with us in Nairobi the whole week. I'm not giving vote of thanks, but thank you, thank you. Very many senior people are here. I cannot start saying. Joe never felt anybody was lower than the other. Everybody was equal. He came to my gate, you'd ask my watchman there at the gate, Not that I live in a house, I live in a flat. But you come and ask the securities, who is the chairman? And before he goes, they got something. They told me, poor chairman has gone. So I was going to talk about him when during the emergency, we went to Kirinyaga, my father's place was achieved. And Joe always felt he was proud that he was escorted by security to school. Thus, he would say, when he became a minister, my daughter told me not to say it, but I'll say it. It was not abnormal to have security. But because I was given security that was not mine, I learned how to love and respect everybody and know everybody in this world would need security. That's the lesson Joe learned from that, and it harbored him. The second one is, I had written my speech, but Mwaneki has embarrassed me because we don't read speeches, Mwaneki. We went to a scout meeting in Nyeri, and we were both chief commissioners at one time. And when I went to speak, everybody went away. When Dad went to speak, everybody came. In the car, I was very upset. I said, Dad, just because you are a minister and old, that's why they listen to you. He said, no, Mary, you read your speech. So I've tried in my life not to read speeches, but this is not a normal time for me. So it's a bit difficult for me to do. My family, you made a mistake. You say that I represent you. How can I do? Nash, stand up and I see your family and people can see you. Nash, where's your family? That's former Governor Nash, Tracy and Jude. Norman, because you want to take over, you are number one. You might be looking older than me, but you are number 3. In our family, we talk with the numbers. Joe number 1, Mary number 2. No, Norman number 3. So, but anyway, it's okay. Jero, where's your family? Jero, by the way, Jero is very special today because the Minister of Health was your best man. So you are very proud. He keeps on telling me that. And when I call you, remember he's a best man. I used to come and see you in Kahuya when I was doing teaching practice. I don't think I gave you pocket money, but I visited you. Murugi and your family. I'm not going in any order. That's number 6, the one who stood. The one who stood before him was number 5. Number 7, where's your family? Rachel, the lawyer. That's Rachel and her family. And Baka is number 4 with Z. I'm leaving you there because I'm going to mention Z somewhere. It's not because you are last. Z is family. Where are you? Baka and your family. Mwaneki, Wabere, and Baka. And the one who likes to take my age, Norman, family. Where are you? Norman's family. There is Norman's family. Kimurus, we are the only ones with a different name with Rachel. Kimurus, that is my grandson, named after me, even if he's a boy, because they said in Kisi they can call somebody Biro. So he is also Biro, and after my husband, he represents 2 bodies. This bodyguard is Sekai. And then, where is the other? Where's my family? Model, Uni, Adam, and Mama Adam is also in the group here. Wonderful mother to give my daughter to. That's the family. They asked me to represent them. I cannot represent them. I can only tell you, every 2 weeks, Joe came to my house. One day, Norman came to my house. My husband died 23 years ago. Norman asked me, do you lock the door like a goat and stay alone? I say, I love it. I'm okay. Joe did not call me a goat. Joe came every 2 weeks, once a week, to sit next to me and hear what I had in my life. My husband died 23 years, and Joe for 23 years has been the grandchildren. This boy in his French school, he did his family tree. My madam, sorry. He wrote his grandfather was Joe when he was 5. So, Joe is a very special person to my life. And thank you for letting me speak. Because of the time, I want to say 2, 3 things Joe did to me that I remember, that I'll never forget. When I started dating at Alliance, the boys would tell Joe, give us the name of your sister. He will not give. He said, if you write to her, they were in her father's desk. So he hid. But Z gave all the boys. They were at Alliance, I was across. Then I get a few boys who liked me except Professor Nyagah. I was asking him why, and he was across, and the sister was my classmate, and Sare, why he never approached. Even Wako, I used to admire for 5 man, but they never saw me. But some nice ones saw me. And to go for dates, I had a condition from Joe. You come at Church of Torch grounds. You sit there where I can see you, and he sits here. So I was supervised. So it was a bit, he protected me from when I was young, and that's how we became very, very, very close to with Joe. Then I'm going to turn 21. And that day in Upper Hill allows us to have a party. At this time, I'm getting a bit of a serious man in my life. We used to call him PJ. He's the man I married. He is in the party. My father is leaving and gives a blessing to the party and says, goodbye, have a good time. But the man makes a last statement. Mary, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you the key. How do you say that when a lady has a fiancé there? He refused. Daddy left. Joe went to the room and came with a beautiful, beautiful key. White, draw. And he says, my sister, you have the key. Up to today, I keep that key. And I will never, never throw it away. But whoever, Mayaka, I don't know, Mwaniki and Norman, can you correct that book of your father a bit? I was not privileged. In Kangaroo, I slept on wooden beds. I ate mesa beans with those insects. I don't know what you call them in English. Busha, whatever in English they are called. But Rachel and Jero were taken to Nairobi Primary School. And later on, they went to Limuru Girls. I went to Alliance. Is that being privileged than Murugi and Jero? There, I think there is a little mistake that he said that. I was on a take, and if my father loved me, the mother died when he was young. I was named after the mother, so the mother had come back to life. So obviously, I'll tell you why Joe told Professor Kamau he wanted a baby girl. It's because when Daddy got sick, I held his hand for 2 weeks. Then went to Paris, he died. And Joe said, I wish I could have a baby girl to do what Mary did to Dad. Professor Kamau confessed that to me. That's what Joe said. So I know why the love of Sheba, and Sheba has been a good friend for Joe. So Joe is not my brother. Joe is my friend. You can see, Bwana Deep, if you don't think I'm smart, I'm wearing at least purple and yellow. The reason is look up and see. Purple and yellow. Those are Joe's colors. And because he came to the university, Margaret, my English is not very good. I tried to write Kellogg's. What did you do? Is that what it's called? Those who are in America with him in Chicago. And he is so proud of that university. Kellogg's. And he wanted those colors. So as a family, you don't see any car with a red ribbon. We put his colors. Purple with people and yellow on the car. I later on met a young man, and my father would see me with the Pascal. He died 23 years ago. And that day would be told by people who would see me, oh, we saw Mary with Joe. Then he met Joe. He met Pascal. He says, I've seen the famous Joe. Joe became so close to my husband that he took part in our wedding. And Margaret, thank you. As Joe's wife, you did the reception in Nairobi for me. And you taught Joe Adai statistics. We will never forget you, Margaret. Thank you very much for what you did to us and what you made. I was privileged to go to school. You talked about a bicycle. And we had a bicycle to go to school. Called Norman. You know, those bicycles, you know the one the men have something here in the front, not the back seat. We came from Kiambu, my father joined politics. I made to sit on that front. Then we fall. Then I say, I'm going to tell Mama, Dad. I was told, if you dare, you walk to school. Forever I kept quiet. Because I could 3 kilometers without shoes, and having come from Kiambu town school was a bit different. And Joe would go counting Mwananchi's cows, and he's being told this is not done in Mbeere. Don't count people. That's the brother I loved. Of late, we had agreed to visit all my mother's and my father's friends. We visited Muthoni Likimani, we visited Mbeere, and then we were going to visit Mrs. Mahehu and Ananko. I told Joe in hospital, I talked to him a day, 2 days before he stopped talking. I held his hand for 2 hours. And I said, if you hear me, my brother, squeeze my heart. And for 2 hours he did. I told him off. I said, who is going to go with me? Who is going to be the grandfather to my children? Who is going to be the father to my children? Who is going to be the friend who visits me? Who is going to listen to me? What am I going to say to all those people who write to you and they are calling me? The articles have not come out. Why, if Esther and Margaret decided they wanted a third one to be, they want to go to State House with Joe, I had offered myself that I will escort you, Joe. But DP, that's with a light note. Politics is not one thing I'm gifted. I followed different life of my life. And so I will end there by saying, Joe, you accused me of having left camp 13 months earlier, denying you the breastfeeding, denying you the being taken care of a baby. Now it's time to say goodbye. You told me to be strong, to serve. I promise you I will do exactly that. I will do my best. No man can be the man leading the home. I promise on my honor, Joe, you requested me. You love your family. You want them to be united. You want them to remain the way they are. God, help me to honor your dreams and do it. But my dear brother, I do not want 13 months gap. I am not joining you 13 months time. I promise you. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Asante sana Sally Koskei na waziri wetu wa Embu Kariuki. If my sister was given an opportunity, if I was not the brother, she would marry me. We are that close. So don't come here and say many other things. And Your Excellency, allow me to speak in double French. Mbeeres are very good in double French. Mwere tuwe to baba ni kwa aregire athomere kia muringa. Nundu wa gutaba manje ndakaye kugia na rutemwava akibirwa kangaru je tukirewa ni ngage mirinde chingage ni ndui tukirewa ni nda uti kwangi menya ni ndui. And with those few words in double Dutch, now it is my privilege to ask my kid brother, Governor Nash, to come forward. Mabiti ya manjambe no mukwa na yuki teino, te chiria Governor Central Bank. Korwa ai mwaro kuriniye. Aba no chira ningia korwa ntumete ndui. Nengi nambia nyingi ukera mutahi wa Kagwe. Nash, tell us why you never made me make too much money. Go ahead. Hon Nyagah. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. My Lord, the Bishops, His Excellency, the Deputy President, Cabinet Ministers, and all the Wakubwas from the national government and from the county government. Thank you very much for coming here. All protocols observed. I've left the governors, but when you say all protocols observed, niwasalimia wote, hata wananchi watukufu. I was given a specific task I was told, tell us who Joe was in your own perspective as Nash. So I'll not speak for anyone else. Norman speaks for everybody else. Mary speaks for the whole clan. I'll speak for Moi. Nobody else. So I'll say who Joe was. To me, I'll read a speech. Mimi sio mtu wa mastori mingi. I'm specific to the point. I don't want to forget who Joe was to me. I'm unable to say everything about Joe. I keep on forgetting. I used to call him Uncle Joe. I don't know why. I think all the kids call him Uncle Joe. So I always called him Uncle Joe. So I do not, I'll keep on calling him Uncle Joe. But to me, Joe was a man you could not contain in a box. He couldn't be in one place. You could hold him down. Joe was a man of all seasons. Joe did everything you can imagine. Joe never sang like my friend here, Norman, but he was in the choir. He even was a member of a band team. He played the drums for a team that was in alliance called the Strangers. So Joe was everything. It was not just in those parlance to say that Joe was everything and not say that he knew how to handle the lowest of people. And Joe could even dine with the kings. But in between Joe was a man who was friendly to all, and no doubt I can see the friends who are here. And as I say about this brother of mine called Joe and a friend, I looked at it this way. I'll give a perspective. When sometimes you climb a mountain, you are unable to savor the beauty of the mountain because you are too close to it. But when you step back a distance away, you are able to see the mammothness, the bigness, the largeness, the landscape, all of it. That's what we have done for Joe. We want to honor his life. I did not come here to mourn him. I came here basically to outline and celebrate Joe's life. He was a very, very great man. Joe himself, a very awesome man, a man with a big heart, a heart that equaled his towering frame. You know, he was a very big man. And Joe walked on this world like a colossus. He feared absolutely nothing. To me, one thing I liked him as an old man, his thoughts were digital. I would have thought he's an analog man. But you sat down with him, Joe will take you into modern times. He will be able to tell you from the history of the world and bring you into today. That was the Joe I knew. So one of the qualities I would like to mention about Joe was that he was a brilliant man, extremely intelligent. I admired Joe. He was articulate, to the point, and any idea he got, he was very, very passionate. That's what I like about him. You could be on the other divide of the concept Joe wanted to portray to you, but was so passionate, and the man was so great that if you listen to him for a few seconds, he would pull you to his side. That's how good Joe was. And one of the things that I liked about Joe never knew defeat. Joe thought on his feet. You presented him with an idea he's never had, and very quickly Joe will be talking. And you talk intelligent and give you solutions. So to me, I found this man a man who was so focused in everything he did. In fact, for Joe, all that he applied his mind to, he handled it with a precision of a neurosurgeon. Not just a surgeon, a neurosurgeon. And therefore, Joe, his outcomes are always good. I remember him, he always said, I've never failed in anything I've done in life. And I'll tell you something else later. Apparently, you make your own life. You're like Christ. You know, you're like God himself. You are created in his nature and in his likeness. And when in his likeness, you look like God. And like God, God speaks. He created the worlds by speaking. So speak what you want to see in your life. Do you want to see yourself healthy? Do you want yourself rich? Do you want yourself successful? Do you want peace or joy? So Joe always spoke, and he spoke very many good things about himself and the people who are before him. Joe was a very informed man. And if I wanted to get a set of ideas, a plan, or a critical review, or situational analysis, Joe would be there and he would always give you an answer that you never ever thought about. Joe was a people's person, very people's oriented. I say, like again in the scriptures, he went about doing good. That's what Jesus did on this earth. He went about doing good. Joe did a lot of good things. We cannot highlight all of them today, but in his upcoming book, you'll be able to see all the things he did. He had a rare independence of mind. His thought was crystal clear, and he always told me, in diversity of thought, that's how you mix up and come with success. Even when he differed with you, Joe never left you with a bitter taste on your mouth. You are always friends, and that is a quality, a trait I saw where he had so much patience. He was a diplomat par excellence. Joe focused on the big picture. While defining and putting in details, Joe focused on the big picture. He would always tell me, don't deal with storms in a teacup. Don't sweat over small things. Focus. What we want is to be result-oriented. Joe was generous to a fault. Even as he lay at the hospital bed, he was still sending Moneki to handle some church harambe in Nyaga. That was Joe. Very generous and brutally honest. I would want to say why I admired Joe. I admired Joe so much that I actually wanted to copy him. I wanted to duplicate, if not clone myself into a Joe. Joe did everything that I admired. Joe went to the Alliance. I had to go to the Alliance. No doubt about it. Whatever they took for me to go to Alliance. So I followed Joe to Alliance. After that, I did my first degree at the University of Nairobi. I did exactly the same subjects Joe did. And after that, even in my own career in banking and in finance, it was Joe that I was trying to follow. So I can say the only one I could not do was this animal called politics mutai. Mutai, my friend, that animal is unknown in my concept. That animal, Joe, beat me hands down. And all of a sudden, Joe becomes a cabinet minister. I told him I also work towards it. So I hit a lower bottom kidogo, but over the years, as I settled down, I am now a minister of the word. Not ordained, but I'm a minister of the word. A minister of the word is one who preaches, one who professes the word. That's what I do. We run a church with my family in Nairobi. And that takes me to speak about Joe's spiritual life for a second. Joe, like in all aspects of his life, he suffered several other spiritual faiths. You couldn't contain Joe in a box. But key to me was that Joe was born again. And the only way to get hooked in our Christian faith, Anglican Church, I'm speaking for myself. Gianni Hill and Joe was born again. I think the Bible says this. Do not rely on the seen things. Seen things like what you see in this world. The focus should be on matters that are unseen. The unseen things are spiritual. And the spiritual things are defined in the Bible are deathless. What am I saying? I'm trying to say Joe has already moved over to heaven. And his spirit is in heaven. Joe, what he has done, he has just relocated home. And he's back in heaven, and I'm saying, what will be in turning later on? That is not the Joe. That his heavenly suit, his spirit, which is Joe, is in heaven. Thank you very much. So long, my friend Joe. So long, my brother. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Asante sana. I'm looking at the time, and I can assure you, the family would have loved to feed you. But this friend of mine who I used to give pocket money called us to the office and said, absolutely no food with COVID. So Mutahi, you get a beating. I now want to call the next person, Professor Anyang Nyongo. He is under the family tribute because this man is part of the family. He was Joe's best man in Chicago. But I must tell you, Professor, as you walk there, you are not very important to Joe more than me because Margaret, sitting over there, brought a friend of hers, and I became the best man. Unofficially, we wore those good things that you wear when people are getting married. But officially, Christian-wise, Professor became the best man. His Excellency, Peter Anyang Nyongo.
Thank you very much, Norman. May I apologize to Minister Kagwe that I will speak without Barakoa. I find it easier. And I think I'm far enough from you not to get COVID from you. Your Excellency, the Vice President, the family of Joe Nyaga, and all friends and relatives gathered here today, I think I want to say good afternoon. Before I speak, I just want to make one correction that Bill Mayaka and Alice Mayaka would like to make. Bill reminded me that Alice was not actually sacked. After the saying goodbye to Mzee, JJ, there was the forming of a coalition government where there was a big reshuffle in government. Some seats or some positions were axed, some were recreated. It is in that process of reorganization that Alice suffered axing, not dismissal, because there was a whole government exercise not targeted at Alice herself. So I hope that that will be corrected in the annals of history and that a clear perspective will be received. Secondly, Norman, let me apologize too that the Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga could not come, but he sent me a message to be read to the family in memory of Joe Nyaga. It's a very brief message, which I will read before I give my own elegy to my dear friend Joe Nyaga. We are here today to bid farewell to a decent and a truly honorable man. In life, Joe Nyaga was a true representation of what all of us wish to be: good citizens of the Republic of Kenya, able to build the type of country we all wish to have. He was non-tribal while respectful of the unique cultures of our dear vice citizens, proud of our country while recognizing and pointing out its failings. He was God-fearing, and deeply proud to be born again. This was a status that he never shied away from pronouncing to his friends and foes alike. One of the things that struck anyone who came face to face with Joe was his graciousness, his smile, his reassuring presence, and his honesty. Ever so optimistic, hardworking, and deeply patriotic, Joe strongly believed that it was possible to turn Kenya into a prosperous, not tribal nation through the honest efforts of all leaders and citizens and through sheer hard work. I believe it was in the pursuit of this ideal that he surprised the community of this region and chose to work with us in the Orange Democratic Movement in the run-up to the 2007 elections, probably well aware that it would cost him politically. In his small way, Joe was trying to bridge the divide that plagues our survival as a nation and many times turned deadly. Joe was a worker, and an extremely disciplined one at that. When I nominated him, not me, Raila, as Minister for Cooperative Development, I knew he was equal to the task. But nothing prepared me for the lengths he would go, visiting different parts of the country and reviving cooperative societies that had long died or creating many new ones from the scratch. He revived a sector that was then marred in numerous problems and laid a firm foundation that will serve this country for years to come. In Joe's death, our country has lost a fine public servant. Having served as a diplomat, corporate leader, MP and cabinet minister, among other portfolios, Joe Nyaga left a mark in virtually every facet of our nation's life with great success. One of the projects that remains a work in progress and which he was passionate about is the unity of Kenyans, regardless of tribe, race, faith, age, or gender. I recall that soon after my handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta in March 2018, Joe was among the very first people to come to my office with the encouragement that it was the way to go and that we needed to walk the whole distance. That remained his message to me until his timely death. In Joe's death, we have lost a patriot of our nation. I have lost a friend and a counselor. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Raila Amolo Odinga, EGH, December 19th, 2020. Norman, I will hand you the physical message when we leave here. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was sitting here with Sisi Mbeere, and then Sisi saw in the program, or heard, I don't know where he had it, that I was godfather to Mwaniki. He looked at me, she looked at me and asked, "Is that real?" I told her, yes, it is. And we laughed because she couldn't believe in honesty that I can be a godfather. I think Sisi, that was rather discussion. But as you can see, as roguish I am, I have been a godfather to an extremely well-disciplined and well-brought-up child. I'm proud of Mwaniki. And I'm proud of my role as a godfather, which is the only role I've played in life worth talking about. And I hope that somebody will look at me and say, come and be godfather to one of my siblings or one of my children. That's an application which I extend to everybody. It's a job that I clearly welcome, seeing how successful I have been with Mwaniki. Now, ladies and gentlemen, like Nash, I am going to read my speech. It's not very long, Norman, but since this is today's, can you give it to him? Give that to, yeah. I know why I'm giving it to him. Today is Joe's day. And having lived in this world for 72 years, I hope you will be patient enough to listen to us talking about our friend. I was asked to talk about friends of Joe, and there are many here. Friends from the Lions High School, Amos Wako, sitting over there, Sally Kosge, sitting somewhere, and many more that I've seen in this congregation today. That's the reason why I'm wearing this tie, this dear Lions High School old boys tie. And by the way, when a Vice President, Deputy President, men never grow up. Men are always boys. It's only women who grow up. If you want to know that men never grow up, just ask a man what relationship they have with their wives. And the wife will tell you, your socks is smelling. Where did you leave your underwear? Men are always boys. That's why the connections and relations we make as boys last so long in life. It is therefore with a very heavy heart that I write this piece as a tribute to my friend Joe Nyaga, who passed on this month in Nairobi after a short illness. A gentleman with a tremendous sense of humor. He was great company and a friend in need as well as friend indeed, in the true sense of that famous saying. He had friends across race and color. He was omnipresent in Kenyan politics as a parliamentarian, minister and diplomat. He made a mark in history. I first knew the Nyaga family through our late father, the Reverend Canon Hesbon Shimei Nyongo, who used to tell us stories about his days in Nanyuki during the Mau Mau. In 1953, my father had been posted to Nanyuki as a young Anglican clergy serving the King's African Rifles. We were not expected to visit father, nor did he ever come home for holidays for the 3 years he served in the army. But he made many friends within the church in the Mount Kenya region, and one of them was Jeremiah Joseph Nyagah, Joe's late father. The others were the late Bishop Obadiah Kariuki and the Reverend Sospita Magwa, both of whom he had known during his training as a clergy at St. Paul's Theological College, Limuru, now St. Paul's University. These names were familiar to us in the many stories father told us of his exploits as an Anglican priest serving in a war zone. From the very beginning, many ties bound us together. Hence the title of my tribute, The Ties That Bind. In 1962, my late brother Agre and I joined the Alliance High School when the legendary headmaster, Edward Carey Francis, was heading the Alliance High School on his last year of service. 2 years after that, Joe joined the same school. Agre and I felt we were meeting someone we had known for a long time, if only from the stories father had told us about his father. The years of the Alliance were full of joyful experiences, which may be remained printed in our minds, sometimes even romanticized, as nostalgia became the pastime of men rapidly being swallowed by adulthood and its many earthly responsibilities. Great ties that bind. The school motto at Alliance High School was strong to serve. It was instilled in us in hymns of redemption songs and songs of praise twice a day, morning and evening, except Saturdays. The sermons were not devoid of it either, nor was speech days and pep talks that teachers engage in when disciplining a boy who, for some reason, might have behaved contrary to school rules and the school motto. We were fully involved in extracurricular activities such as drama and music, whilst also walking hand in hand in the famous valley with girls from the Alliance Girls High School. We didn't do anything more, as Mary, Joe's sister, can testify to that, since she was in the same class with my sister, Susan. So if they thought we were looking after them, we also feared they could report on us. Great be the ties that bind. Joe was a singer of no mean repute. He belonged to a band called The Strangers, together with Abdallah Baker, Ben Swai, and the retired Bishop of Butere, Michael Sunday. their own revival band at the Alliance High School ecosystem was the Strollers, where Joe Mungai, Sami Mwangi, Ben Mumo, and Jojo Ngaya styled themselves as the Beatles. One can therefore understand why Joe grew up the way he did, why he was such a stickler for decency, discipline, honor, fairness, work, punctuality, public service, and civilized behavior. Joe was a civil man, but always relaxed and self-effacing in many ways. He not only stepped into the footsteps of his father, JJ, but lived up to the spirit of the Protestant ethic that the Alliance High School instilled in the boys. Great be the ties that bind. Wind the clock forwards, and you will find that after I left the Alliance High School and went to Makerere University as an undergraduate in 1971, I found that there had been many Kenyans of high repute, who had trailed the blaze before us in that renowned university college, the only one of its kind in East Africa then. Such were men like Jeremiah Joseph Nyagah, 1940 to 1943, and Emilio Mwai Kibaki, who joined later in the mid-50s. And at Makerere University, the university motto was, and still is, we build for the future. In Latin, pro futuro edificanos. Emilio Mwai Kibaki, later to become Kenya's third president, who is remembered for Kenya's renaissance after many years of authoritarian rule, was served by both of us, Joe and I, as ministers. These are the ties that continued to bind the two of us as history was unfolding. Wind the clock forward again, and I find myself at the University of Chicago doing my postgraduate degrees in political science from October 1971. 2 years later, Joe also arrives to do his master's degree in business administration at Kellogg's Business School, Northwestern University in Evanston, a suburb of New York, a suburb of Chicago. But the business school was downtown, not in Evanston. He calls me from a downtown hotel and announces, I am here, with a laugh at the end of it, as if I had seen him the previous day. So I go to fetch him and insist he quit the hotel to stay with me in my 2-bedroom apartment in Hyde Park, the south side of Chicago, where the University of Chicago was and still is. Great be the ties that bind. Wind the clock forward, and Joe announces again casually that he was going to get married after he had moved out and staying alone to be nearer his school, as well as the First National Bank in Chicago, where he was an apprentice. I'm soon introduced to a beautiful lady called Margaret, a diminutive school teacher from Scotland who had come to Kenya to pursue her profession at State House Road Girls High School in Nairobi. My sister Susan had just finished her teaching practice there and then joined the school with Margaret, teaching in the same school. Great indeed be the ties that bind through the invisible hand of God. One morning, Joe wakes up and calls me that the wedding was that afternoon at a church downtown. I was to arrive in time since I was the best man. As a graduate student, I didn't have even a suit, let alone any form of formal clothing. So I put on my kitenge shirt, jump into the metro with a khaki trouser, and get there perfectly in time to be instructed by the priests on the wedding procedures. When Mwaniki was born and needed to be baptized, it was the same thing. Joe simply fetched me from my house in Nairobi and drove me to church to be the young boy's godfather. By the way, my sister Mary had been the nurse who delivered Mwaniki at Nairobi Hospital. She seems to have specialized in delivering the children of VIPs because President Uhuru Kenyatta, when he came to my mother's funeral, reminded us that Mary's was the nurse that delivered their firstborn at MP Shah Hospital. Great be the ties that bind. When I eventually got married in 1979, 6 good years after Joe, although I'm older than him, can understand why I delayed. He drove me in his car to All Saints Cathedral for my wedding. Like a good Jaluo, mine had to become organized, much more in style. Dark suits, bow ties, and all that. Arriving in a sleek Mercedes-Benz, driven by the son of a minister. But do I say? Joe insisted that the first night Dorothy and I had to spend for our honeymoon had to be in the new Boulevard Hotel in Nairobi. So there he drove us. The rest is history. And that is how our honeymoon started. Great be the ties that bind. Much more memorable, however, were our years as members of parliament and subsequently ministers in the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, and subsequently ministers in the coalition government. We toured the country together during the campaigns for the referendum, the party election, the great election, general elections. Some of the people we worked with are here, members of the Pentagon, the Deputy President, Najib Balala, ni Najibu, and Omwami Musalia. I was your Secretary General. I can still refuse to give you tickets. So we were frequently in Embu at Sir Isaac Walton Hotel. It was quite often that it was our scene of meetings and workshops, with Joe always telling campaigners to be as serious as Joe Nyaga, the only handsome man in town. A message he delivered with a serious face, hiding a noticed smile beneath it. That was the vantage Joe. I speak on behalf of many friends who have similar stories to tell about Joe. He kept his dear friends to his bosom, opening up to them, encouraging them under difficult times, and being with them at moments of joy and sadness. And Bill Mayaka will testify to that. Those friends are here and abroad, like our former teachers at the Alliance High School, with whom we kept in close contact, more than any of us. Sally Kosgei is here, a dear friend of both of us, who can tell her own story and her own history with Joe. I'm sure Francis Mudaura can speak on behalf of all those we worked with in government who enjoyed Joe's company. And finally, fellow Kenyans, on behalf of Raila Amolo Odinga and the ODM fraternity, Joe would have thanked you today for the mission you sent us together during the settlement of the controversial elections of 2007-2008. With Joe, we met President Jakaya Kikwete on behalf of Raila. And I was thoroughly impressed by Joe's power of persuasion on our stand and points of view while insisting on the indivisibility of the Kenyan nation and the sanctity of holding together as East Africans. We have lost a diplomat par excellence, Joseph William Nyagah. Joe, you go to heaven with the many ties that bind us together. Great be the ties that bind. Rest in peace, Wood Mama. God be with you till we meet again. by his counsels help and hold you. In his hands securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again, till we meet again, till we meet again. God be with you till we meet, till we meet, till we meet again, till we meet again. God be with you till we meet again.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Nyagah. Trust Ajaluo, he must sing for you to hear. He has a beautiful voice. Excellent voice, Professor Makofi. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. The next one will be a very good friend of Joe for many, many years. They did very many nice things and evil things together, I assume. They have worked this journey for a long time. They were together in ODM. If you saw those who came in earlier, he was at one point a big man in Mombasa. Now he's our Minister for Tourism, Waziri Najib Balala, all the way from Mombasa. Tukushukuru kwa safari yako. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Waziri. You give your condolences.
All is good, all the time. Your Excellency, the Deputy President, colleagues, the family of Joe, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Governor of Embu, the Speaker of the National Assembly. I wondered why Mary asked me to speak here today. The whole story was said by Professor Nyagah. But I realized everything I did, probably I copied Joe. He's a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist too. He dreamed to be a president. I don't know if you have reached there. I have 20 years difference between me and Joe. But one time we were together in the so-called the orange and banana movement. And finally, when we declared that the orange will become a party, it was Professor Nyagah, His Excellency William Ruto, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Joe, and myself, when we consulted and we said probably the orange must be a party. And that's why during the divisive referendum of 2005, I pray and hope this referendum will not be divisive, because the repercussion of a divided nation will be bad. I appeal that it must be a unifying referendum, or if none, no referendum, but a unity of purpose to build this nation. So we went through that, formed a party. There was a presidential nomination among the party. I was the member number 101 of ODM. I ran within my party. Suddenly, Joe Nyaga followed. Then it was William Ruto. Then it was Musalia Mudavadi. Then it was Raila Odinga. We went back to Kasarani. And I remember in 2002, when I met Joe at Serena, it was after the Kasarani of Serena when there was a merger of KANU and NDP. That time, I asked Joe, what are the plans? Where are you going? He says, don't worry, Najib. I will be in government by any ways. In any equation, he will be in government. I said, fine. So you have seen now, I've learned, I am in all governments. And even the next one coming, I will be in there. So, Your Excellency, I don't know if I'll be in your government, but I know I will be in government. The only thing, ile rada nimepoteza kidogo. Zamani nilikuwa ninajibu, sina siri. Sasa nimezeeka kidogo, nimepevuka kidogo. Sasa hatujui mambo itaenda vipi. But I can assure you, if you mean good for this country, like Joe was, committed, honest, with dignity, and no politics of deceit, then this country will move forward and the good people will lead this country. So when we were in ODM, Pentagon then, finally, and then crisis happened, we had to go to negotiations with the Kofi Annan and the group. And before Kofi Annan, John Kufur came. He was the chairman of African Union. He came to Intercontinental Hotel. And because we were young, we were literally vibrant, and we wanted what is right, not what is to be compromised. And I can tell you, John Kufur requested for the two of us, myself and Joe, not to attend the meeting because we were too straight in the discussions. We wanted what is right to be done. And then we were left out. Suddenly, it was Musalia Mudavadi who went upstairs, Raila Odinga and William Ruto who met John Kufur. Unfortunately, that discussion collapsed. And then later, Jakaya Kikwete came in as again the new chair of the African Union, and where then that the good things and the reconciliation happened. So you could see we came a long way. And before even the reconciliation, that's why, Mwaniki, you are talking about tear gases. We were all being asked by the same Secretary General of Mass Action to go on the streets. And yes, we were the young Turks. William Ruto, myself, Joe was behind us hiding. And that's why I didn't know the story of a toothbrush or a toothpaste. But I can tell you, we didn't mean bad. We just wanted the right things to happen again. So yes, we came a long way. And I can tell you as well, every time things happen, I ask him. He said, don't worry, we shall be in government. 2008, we were in government, all of us. 2013, some of us, led by Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. 2017, the same thing. 2017, I asked Joe, what are you doing? Running for presidency for what? We are already in government. He says, don't worry, nowadays, now you'll be in my government. So I told him, fine, let me go with my own government, and when you form it and we lose, I'll join you. So then he comes back and says, now I retire. You know, I have a young daughter, a young wife, and I'm going back to the village. So I said, fine. So occasionally we meet at my house in Kileleshwa, we are closer, we are friends. And yes, Joe, I can say, I will miss your counsel. I will miss your wisdom. I will also want to say you have been a great man for this country. Rest in peace, my brother. God bless you. Thank you all.
Asante sana Waziri Najib Balala, rafiki ya Joe. Sasa kuna mwingine ambaye ana safari ya mbali alikuwa rafiki yangu na pia ni rafiki yangu, tumekuwa bunge na yeye. But when he comes in here, Your Excellency, he's not going to talk about what Professor Nyagah was showing off from the Alliance. This one will come and say, the Prince of Wales. Shall we welcome ANC boss, Musalia Mudavadi. And you must always remember the Prince of Wales. Welcome.
The family of the late Joe Nyaga, the clergy, the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto, distinguished friends of Joe Nyaga, and if they are enemies, I also acknowledge you. I will be very brief because time is against us now. But the first thing is to really convey my deepest condolences as a friend and also on behalf of my family upon the demise of Joe Nyaga, a good friend, an elder brother. But let me just say one thing, the picture of the Pentagon that was there, it's in the program. That was quite a moment. We were at the Ferry Park Hotel and we were preparing to go for the ODM party nominations. Tense moment, but there we were. Now, I want to talk about this because it was a humorous moment as well. And Nyagah is here. You know, Nyagah was also the IBC at that time. I can tell you those nominations were tense, exciting, but at the end of the day, after that nomination exercise, we stood together at that time and said, once you've gone through the process, and there's now an outcome, and at that time the outcome was that Raila had been nominated as the presidential candidate. We were left with two options, either to walk out and quit, or to unite and coalesce so that we can proceed to the next level. We chose the latter. We united at that time and we moved on. Why do I speak to this? I speak to this because Joe was a diplomat. Joe played a role in making sure that we remain together. Interestingly enough also, Joe was very witty, just like his brother, Norman. And I've seen the same wit coming through the son, and literally it seems to run through the entire family. Joe was witty. Joe could speak. Joe, by the way, understood the deep state. Mark my word, Joe understood the deep state. His father was a chief. His grandfather was a chief. His father became a minister. Joe himself became a minister. He became an ambassador. He became all those things. I can tell you, Joe would tell you things about state operations until you learn that what you see is not necessarily what you get. That was Joe, extremely witty. And his brother, this gentleman, gave us a lot of hell in Parliament. Kibaki made a good choice to make this guy a whip. Norman was perhaps one of the best parliamentary whips that we have seen in recent times. Cut from the same cloth, a chip of the old block, Nyagah Senior. He would organize Kibaki's government, and especially as in the build-up to the opposition, because he was first before the last few days of Moi and then after. This guy would organize the opposition so well, and we lost a lot of motions because he would cheat us that we are going to support this motion. There's no issue here. Si hii ni kitu kidogo tumekubaliana. And then we stream out as those in the government bench. You stream out, you disappear, you go to your offices, you do what? When he has established that the critical mass has disappeared, Joe Norman would come back to the floor and say, we want to pull the vote now. Mr. Speaker, what is that phrase you use? Can you put the question? My friend, we could do nothing. Magari zimeenda. You cannot rush back to that chamber. And this guy was able to get us into that kind of corner. But he and his brother worked so well together in spite of the political differences. A unique family. Very unique. You were brought up well. I can also take pride that I was in class with Rachel Murugi, that lady there. We sat on the same desk in Nairobi Primary School. She was brighter than me, by the way. But here we are today, bidding farewell to the brother, and we say, this is Kenya. Let us make ourselves truly Kenya. Let us unite. Let us not be divisive. Let us build consensus on many issues. Let us walk away from this notion that if you have a different opinion from mine, you've become an enemy. Let us make our civil service work, because the debate around the BBI has gone on and on and on. And I can tell you for free, we are reaching a stage where you are paralyzing the public service, because one is looking and wondering, are you for BBI or anti-BBI? Let us put closure in a very well-organized way with broad consensus so that this matter is behind us and we can unite again as a Kenyan to focus on the recovery of the economy of this country. That should be our singular goal. May Joe rest in peace. May his family also find grace in God. And may Kenya become stronger, as Mayaka said, and life goes on. God bless you all.
Tumpigie makofi tena kwa sababu hasa kwa kunijenga. The Deputy President is here. Amesikia, ametuma kwa President. To my dear friends, the ministers, one of you is going to get sacked for me to come in very soon. That is the message that will go through. That's what I thought was said. Thank you very much, my schoolmate. That's a friend of mine. I knew him many, many years ago. He had not joined government. We became very good friends. Would go eat food together. We traveled outside many a times together and built a very good, formidable relationship. We then went to Parliament together. Let me have this pleasure to then call upon, and I want to ask that those who have not spoken to excuse the Deputy President has a third occasion, function where he's going to, and therefore has asked that we give him an opportunity for him to come and give his condolences to the Nyagah family. Your Excellency, the Deputy President will invite the Governor to invite him to speak. This man coming from Embu, you all know him, is our Governor. He is commonly known as Shieko.
Okay. Good afternoon. As usual, karibuni sana hapa Embu, Your Excellency, mawaziri, my colleagues, the Governor, including the County Attorney from Nyandarua representing Panakamemia, the former Speaker of Kirinyaga, and Githinji, and the Nyagah family. It's really a privilege, and we are very happy to be here to wish a very noble son of Embu a good send-off. And may I just say one thing or two before I call the Deputy President to address you, because he has another function, and say that one wise person said the most effective prayer and the shortest. In English, it has two words. In Swahili, it has one word. I want to go that route. That one, those words are thank you. In Swahili, asante. Asante for your coming to this wonderful function to support the Nyagah family, a very unique family, as it has been put by the previous speakers. And asante sana for all of you, for those wonderful words you have given the family and the encouragement and the praise in praise of Nyagah. A lot has been said, and I will not repeat it, other than saying that I find Joe, I found him very engaging and also very friendly. And what I didn't know was that even this goes in the family. The humor, that's what really impressed me about Joe Nyaga. And I was always consulting him, whether we are in the same party, whether we are from the different clans and all that, and he was always ready to come to my meetings, and I really thank him from my heart. And mwisho kabisa, because I have no time, another very religious person put it this way: the most blessed life is one who supports others during his life. From the testimony we have heard, Joe did this throughout his life. And I can assure you, from the moment Joe died, the Almighty God welcomed him to heaven, mara moja. With those few words, please be upstanding to welcome the speaker, our speaker from the National Assembly. Speaker, karibu sana. Makofi ya KANU. 1, 2, 3. Karibu.
The family of Joe Nyaga and the larger Jeremiah family, the clergy, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Cabinet Secretaries here present, and all mourners, I stand here just briefly to say that Joe has walked some very interesting journey with me, but because of the in the interest of time, I may not give you the story, because it starts from around the time when there was agitation for creation of districts. And we ended up being, then, Joe and I, the only serious KANU flag bearers in the district. And my senator, Joe Nyaga, who was then leading the Democratic Party here in Embu, gave us a lot of problems. But my story with Joe was one of encouragement, because leaving the civil service in 1997 to go into politics, and in Embu on a Kanu ticket, was something quite unheard of. Nobody expected that to happen. And as fate would have it, at my first attempt, I didn't make it, but Joe made it. Interestingly, Mbeere politics is so complex that notwithstanding my loss, Joe welcomed me. He told me, no, you must always come to have a cup of tea with me in the office. That time he was Minister for Information. In fact, many of you seem to remember that he was Minister for Cooperatives. But because I worked so closely with him, I know he was in Information, then went to Lands, then went to the office of the President before we went to the 2002 elections. Joe went out of his way to demystify that complex Mbeere politics. There is a gentleman who spoke here earlier, Henry Kedaka Ireri. He mentioned a bit of it. And the other former MCA, Makenge, would know. It was so difficult for Joe Nyaga, not being from my clan, going out of his way, around the entire constituency, telling people from his clan, you must vote for J.B. Muturi. It was unheard of in the past, in this region. Very, very difficult time. And I remain eternally grateful to Joe. So that when finally I made it to Parliament in a by-election in 1999, we served very faithfully. I served very faithfully under Joe as a backbencher, with him leading me as my only minister from Embu. A few things that I learned, of course, much later, as many of you might not have known, when Norman was the government chief whip, I was the opposition chief whip from Mbeere. So this one, we have another very, very interesting story. The one similar to what Musalia has just said, because if you remember, after the 2002 elections, Kanu was really whitewashed by NAC, because we are only 64 members with 4 nominated and 68. So I had to apply similar tricks. That's the ones the Honorable Musalia has talked about, because we were too many. And I was then, I had to tell the Deputy President, who was then also a member of my party, as his whip, that let's hang around. These ministers, they will disappear into their offices. They will not come to eat mandazi ile ya kawaida, kwa sababu hao ni wadosi wataondoka, including Mutiarika, Mutai here. Wakitoroka kule, wanaenda, na mimi nimeambia Norman, sisi hatuna ubaya, hii yote tunataka, hatuna shida, tutakubaliana. I think it's a trick. It could be something, Norman, that maybe people from around here know how to apply. But at all times, including when I became speaker, Joe would always be available. Pick a call. JB, when you are in Embu, please let me know. Let's have a cup of tea. The last one that he really amused me about was when he called me not too long ago and told me that, JB, your son and myself are the biggest chicken farmers in Embu. I asked him, what do you mean? You are rearing, you are keeping chicken? He told me, yeah. Si mimi nilikwambia nimeacha hii mambo ingine, nimekuwa mzee sasa. Lazima nikae kule. Lakini tunapenda ile kazi tunafanya. Watu wanakuja kuangalia sisi kwa shamba zetu. I couldn't believe it. So we agreed that we were going to come to visit, to see how best we can do it. And I was telling him, no, maybe we may need to take, you organize, to take you, you go to Eldoret, a place called Sugoi, you go and see, you learn from the biggest chicken farmer. May Joe rest in eternal peace. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to invite His Excellency the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya come and make his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Asante sana. Tafadhali tuketi. Familia ya ndugu na rafiki yetu Joseph William Nyagah, kiongozwa na watoto wake hapa, Waniki na Norman and the small girl, na familia wengine wote wakiongozwa na Mrs. Kimulu here, who is, although Norman says he takes charge, I think we have been told who is number 2. Waheshimiwa viongozi wote wenzangu mlio hapa, kiongozi wa NC, magovernors mlio hapa, mawaziri, waheshimiwa wote, pamoja na watu wa Embu, amjambo. Moriaro. Mimi kwanza kwa niaba yangu mwenyewe na niaba ya familia yangu ninaleta rambirambi nyingi za dhati kwa familia ya Joseph Nyagah, marafiki wake, watu wa Mbeere na Embu, kwa sababu ya kumpoteza huyu ndugu wetu. I do not have a long history like Peter Anyang' with Joe, but Joe was elected the first time in 1997, like myself. At least that part of history we share. And we were elected in the same party at that time. And somehow we have traveled that journey as leaders and politicians together with Joe. And I want to say just in one phrase that Joe was a good man. Indeed he was. I mean, it would be difficult to not agree with Joe, either because he had long years in diplomacy and he was very well educated, and as somebody has said here, he was also brought up in the church and he knew God. So he always did what everybody would say, that is the right thing. And therefore, we celebrate the life of a good man, Joe Nyaga. I remember Joe Nyaga because, as JB has said, the KANU days, we were all KANU members. And I remember one time, there was a KANU election here. And I think Joe was competing with Muturi. And the fellow who came to conduct the KANU elections, and being KANU chairman then was a very big thing, was Francis Nyenze. And Nyenze delayed in declaring who had won the elections. And Joe went to the microphone and announced that he had actually won the elections and declared himself chairman. And that's how it was, and that's how it became. Maybe JB may have reservations, but that's how it went. I also remember Joe when we teamed up together, as has been said by other colleagues here. Balala and myself were the younger of the lot in 2005, 2007. And to speak the truth is that during that elections, the referendum that time, the people who are actually in the opposition was Uhuru Kenyatta, myself, JB, and others. It is Raila and Anyang' Nyong'o and Balala who came to join us in the opposition. And they came to oppose the referendum that time. And we ended up in one party. And many people don't remember that this ODM, which has given us trouble, Apokatikati, we were members of ODM, all of us, including Uhuru Kenyatta, my boss. We started it together. But then, as politics would be, we subsequently had different paths. We became competitors, and the rest, as they say, is history. And that's where we are today. Again, we have a moment in our history when again we are forging the unity of the nation. And all of us, as citizens of this country, walking in the footsteps of Joe Nyaga. And I dare say that this family, the Joe Nyaga family, is a very unique family, very democratic, people who have free ideas. It's the only family that one member of a family is in the opposition and the other one is in government, and they are in very serious positions at the same time. I remember when Joe was a minister in Kanu, Norman here was the opposition chief whip. And many a times we were wondering, those of us who were in Kanu, what could possibly be happening between these two at home? But I want to say we came to the conclusion that they were independent, progressive Democrats who could believe and could be in different parties because of ideology without necessarily bringing in who was brother, who was sister. So we are celebrating a wonderful Kenyan, a person who pursued his leadership career devoid of ethnicity. He always stood where he thought was the right place. When people in this region maybe were headed towards DP, Nyaga remained in Kano. When subsequently we went to ODM, he came along with us. The people in this region remained in NAC and in other parties. But he always pursued what he ideologically believed in. And that is the great man. We are celebrating his life here today. I have heard his sister, number 2. Now I won't forget. Speak very fondly about your brother. And he was the man you have described. Maybe I would just help you with, I saw you had difficulty remembering the insects that accompany maharagwe. They are called weevils. Because we all shared in that meal while we were in school. I want to apologize, I came a bit late. We had another occasion like this in my neighborhood in Eldoret, in Bungoma, of a member of parliament we lost. And we wanted to attend that. But Bishop Joel here knows that I try to keep time, and even Bishop Mashamba. I know you have chastised us as politicians, so I wouldn't say, ordinarily I would speak about what we are doing as government in this area, including, of course, the road from Embu to Siakago. But after you spoke, I won't say those things, because you said we keep talking about the things we have done. But you know, Bishop, because you are my friend, allow me to say the following. Politics is a very complicated show and a very complicated game. It is the only examination where if you get 50 plus 1, you get an A. Because it has so many corners and so many ups and downs. So sometimes we have to keep stretching to explain to people what we are doing, because human beings forget. And it is not very different, Bishop, from the fact that we go to church every Sunday, even when we are saved, because it's good to be reminded that there is heaven to go. So that's why we also remind these people we have built this road, we have done that water project. Lest they forget. So ni ushuhuda tu, saa zingine tunatoa pia ya siasa, kusema ni namna hii, ndio hawa watu wasisahau na wasitufukuze kazi. But having said that, I want to agree with all of us, and I want to ask all of us that we must not be too hard on each other. I think we can always build the necessary consensus that will bring people together. We can always find common ground, and we can always agree. When we look hard enough, we will get the options that will bring all Kenyans together. And so even in a moment like this, we must always be careful to accept that a good idea will always give way to a better idea, and we can always build the necessary consensus to take us forward. I am confident that we have the wherewithal, we have what it takes to carry everybody into the future. That is my small comment on this good brother that we have come here to celebrate his life. With me, I also came with there is also the statement of my boss, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, who is very well known to this family, was a friend of Joe, is a friend of this family, and you know him well. And before I read his statement, finally, we have many other people here. Maybe it's just good for me to recognize them. We have ministers in our midst. We have Minister Amina here. Tumpigie makofi. We have Minister Mutai Kagwe, as you have heard. We have Balala, at least has spoken there. We have a native of this county, Minister Sicily. We hapo. Asante sana. And then I don't know whether we have any PSS here. CASS, we have CASS here. CAS. Hon Nyagah, mpige makofi. And CAS. My sister Chepi Kilimo. Sorry about this Barakoa business. You know, you can't notice anybody. Sorry. And then we have members of parliament from this county. We have senator first. Joe Nyaga. Mzee wetu huyo. And then we have members of parliament from this county. We have Ses Mbeere there, a nominated MP. We have the local member of parliament, Colonel Kingangi. We have James Mushiri. Sabina Chege, sorry. And of course, the Attorney General Emeritus, Amos Wako. His other name is Siswila, and he's also the headman of our village in Karen. So I'm going to read the statement of His Excellency the President to us. Message of condolence to the family, relatives, and friends of the late Honorable Joseph William Nyagah. It is with grief and a deep sense of loss that I send you this message of condolence and encouragement following the death of Honorable Joseph Nyagah. To the family, relatives, and friends of Honorable Nyagah, may the peace of our Lord Jesus Christ, which surpasses all understanding, keep your hearts strong and cover you during this difficult time. Honorable Nyagah, popularly known as Joe, was a social, humble, kind, generous, and courageous person. He was equally a hard-working gentleman whose diligence enabled him to shine in whatever task he put his hands on. Certainly, Honorable Nyagah's death leaves a huge vacuum among us that will be hard to fill, for he was synonymous with success and discipline. Honorable Nyagah demonstrated the virtue of consistency of purpose and exceptional dedication that saw him being sought to manage and oversee operations of key entities, both in the Republic of Kenya and abroad. And in all the places he served, he left an enduring mark of excellence. His unique ability to understand the challenges of the times and to use his skills to turn around both public and private entities to successful enterprises endeared him to those who served under him. His exposure to diplomatic and economic affairs, as well as international trade, earned him a diplomatic posting in Belgium and to the European Union before being appointed the Managing Director and CEO of Kenya Airways. We fondly recall how he successfully turned around the fortunes of the airline, making it the pride of Africa. At the opportune moment, Honorable Joe ventured into politics, where he extended his service delivery prowess by serving Kenyans as a legislator and as a cabinet minister. Indeed, Joe was a great person. He was a friendly leader, highly experienced in public service, and a very influential politician. What stood out most in my many years of interaction with him was his brilliance and clarity of mind when articulating matters of public interest. It is rare for someone to serve two administrations at the ministerial level, but Joe defied all odds. That because of his accomplishments and the trust that he earned from his appointing authority. It is in recognition of the distinguished service he rendered to the nation that he was honored and decorated by the state with the second-class Elder of the Order of the Golden Heart of Kenya. As a person, as a nation, we owe Joe a debt of gratitude for his long and distinguished service to the country and for his many accomplishments as a public servant. May you take solace from the word of God in Revelations 14:13, which says, and I quote, "And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth, yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works do follow them." End of quote. We pray to our Almighty God to rest the soul of Honorable Joseph William Nyagah in eternal peace. Signed, Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, 19th December 2020. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
We, the family of Jeremiah Nyaga, we take up this opportunity to thank the Deputy President and the President himself for those beautiful words that they have talked about our late brother Joe, and more importantly, about the larger Nyaga family. We do not take it for granted that you have come to represent the President, having come from all the way from Eldoret, and we are told yet you're going to another function. Once the Deputy President has departed because he is going to another function, before we hand over back to the church, we have two members of Parliament that are going to talk to us for a very, very short time, and two ministers who are sitting here.